Hey guys, and welcome to Key Source. We're really excited today because we are joined by Jeff Gottke and Sam Filkins with the Area Development Foundation and the Knox County Land Bank. They've been doing a ton of great work to identify and address the housing shortage in Knox County, and we have a ton of information to cover, so we're going to jump right in.
Hi Jeff and Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. First, let's define for our viewers what is the Area Development Foundation, ADF, and the Land Bank. So let's start with you, Jeff. Help our viewers understand the Area Development Foundation and its role in our community.
Sure, John, thanks for having us. So the Knox County Area Development Foundation is a nearly 60-year-old nonprofit organization that was originally founded to develop the industrial park south of Mount Vernon.
Sure.
As that has filled up and businesses have come to town and we've developed our manufacturing capabilities, ADF has taken on kind of a larger role outside of just the industrial park. So I guess you could say our main focus is to grow the economic pie in Knox County, even though you don't grow pies. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And we do that primarily by identifying obstacles to growth and development and finding solutions to help overcome them. So we're really in the solutions business. So we focus primarily on what we call economic base industries.
Sure.
So those would be things like manufacturers who make a product and sell it outside of the county to their customers, and then their money comes into the county to be spread around that way.
Sure.
Right? So the best way to grow an economy is by importing somebody else's money, right? So manufacturers can do that, tourism, our colleges can do that as well. So we like to see healthy manufacturing and healthcare and education base.
Right.
So we focus a lot on three primary pillars. The first is good paying jobs. So we look to develop local businesses or attract out of town businesses that pay more than $14 an hour, because that's the salary that it takes to keep a family of three off of public assistance.
Sure.
So we're looking for those good paying jobs that can produce economic output instead of consuming government services. Right. So our second pillar is qualified workforce. So those businesses that are here in town, they're going to need qualified workers. Where are they going to come from?
Right.
So we have a group of about 50 different members, that's education, governments, manufacturers, healthcare, called the Knox County Workforce Development Alliance, which is a very long name. And so those are the things we focus on is, do we have enough workers? Are they trained? And if not, what do we do about both of those? Right. And then our third pillar deals with livable communities, which is Sam's primary responsibility, so we'll let him talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah, so livable communities, we're focused on the whole county. So how can we make Knox County a place where people want to move themselves and their businesses? And so, you know, it's not just about building a nice factory, it's about making it a place where people want to live. So one of the ways that we're doing this throughout the county is in 2019, there were strategic plans done for the 4 villages. So that's Gambier, Fredericktown, Centerburg, and Danville. So they did a strategic plan about the village and what they could do to make living in that village even better than what it is. And so part of my job is helping them implement those strategic plans. Because you know, strategic plans are great, but then a lot of times they sit on a shelf and nobody looks at them. So how can we make sure that those plans become a reality? Right. Luckily, we have a great partnership with the Knox County Foundation, and they've provided some funding for the villages to help make those dreams become a reality. So we're working on enhancing the quality of living across the county. So that's fantastic. One of the ways that one of the tools that's a newer tool that we're working directly with is the land bank.
Okay.
So land banks are quasi-governmental agencies. There's over 60 of them throughout Ohio, and they're founded by the Knox County Commissioners. And the whole focus is to strengthen neighborhoods and preserve property values. So one of the ways we do this is we take vacant, tax delinquent, and abandoned properties and try to find a new owner that's going to fix them up if they need fixing, make it a lovely home for somebody else.
Right.
So, if you lived in a neighborhood, you might know of a house that is on the street that's been abandoned. Maybe the owner moved out of the area and just left it and it's not doing very well. We try to scoop those houses up, find a person to make it the best house.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that we're doing. The land bank also is getting involved a little bit in some commercial work too. So how do we turn some commercial assets that aren't really realizing their full potential into more usefulness? So the two main examples of that are in Mount Vernon. So we have the Mount Vernon News Building, which used to be the home of Mount Vernon News. So how can we make that a key landmark in the downtown area?
Sure.
And then Cooper Progress Park, which is the former Siemens space, how can we turn that space into a productive space, creating those well-paying jobs that Jeff talked about for the whole community?
Sure.
Well, great. So you guys just released recently an article with the Knox pages that goes into detail about the need for housing development in the county. But I want to contextualize this conversation for our viewers. Jeff, could you explain the correlation between economic development, which is what you were just talking about, and housing development, and maybe explain to Knox County residents why they should be concerned about the development of both?
Sure. So housing shortage is not unique to Knox County. It's something that is a problem regionally in the Columbus region. I think Columbus is about 14,000 housing units short annually. Wow. Knox County is somewhere around 2,000. But this is becoming a nationwide problem as well. So there's a lot of competition for housing right now around the region particularly. So housing affordability and availability connects to really all three of our pillars. First, by workforce. So the unemployment rate in Knox County is somewhere lower than 4% right now. And when new businesses are coming to town and they talk with us, the first question out of their mouths is, where am I going to get my workers from?
Right.
And right now we don't have a great answer for that because there's so few of them out there.
Right.
So one way to get more workers to satisfy the demand for all of the now hiring signs you see driving around town is more housing. So simply put, more housing equals more workers. More housing also equals more business opportunities. So there's kind of this cliche phrase in economic development that retail follows rooftops.
Sure.
The more people in a place, the more businesses there. And so when we think about what's missing in Mount Vernon and what people want to see, we hear a lot about franchise places. Where's the Kohl's? Where's the Target? Where's the Olive Garden?
Sure.
Where's the Chick-fil-A?
Sure.
And frankly, their business models are based on a certain minimum population that Knox County just doesn't have.
Right.
So the more people, the more chicken sandwiches, honestly. And that has a spillover too as well. We lose over 3,000 workers a day to surrounding counties, particularly Franklin County, because Knox County white-collar employers can't compete with the wages that Franklin County is offering. Now, those people would rather stay here and work, but those opportunities just don't exist as much as they do farther south. So again, more businesses, more opportunities, more people stay. There's also one other effect too that we don't always think about, which is the more residents in a place, the less tax burden there is as well. So governments can only get their money either by getting new people or raising taxes.
Right.
So without new people, guess what's going to happen?
Right.
So if we get a larger population in Knox County, that's going to lower everybody's tax burden as well.
Right. So yeah, the article does a fantastic job of laying out, the needs for housing in Knox County and helping us understand the shortage. You made a statement in the article that we could build 3,277 more homes in Mount Vernon with minimal to no rezoning. Can you explain that for our viewers?
Sure. So we need housing everywhere throughout the county, but it was easier to quantify just focusing on one municipality. And so I started with Mount Vernon. And what I did was I looked through all the parcels in Mount Vernon to find the ones that don't have anything currently on them. They're not developed. And I found 875 acres within the current city limits that aren't developed.
Wow.
So what that means is that we can bring in a lot more homes.
Right.
Now, we are most concerned with creating those homes in what are called infill lots. So those are lots between two current existing homes, or where a house was, but maybe it burned down, or was torn down for some reason, for a couple of reasons. One, we want to maintain the rural character of Knox County. That's something that sets us apart from our other counties. And so we don't want to encourage, a whole bunch of people to dig up all the cornfields and put a whole bunch of houses. We need housing like that, but we should probably focus on infill first.
Sure.
It also limits the cost to the city. So by not having to plow more roads or, run sewer lines and all that stuff, it minimizes the infrastructure that the city has to manage.
Right.
So it's cheaper if they build infill than out. So of those 875 acres, 151 of those lots are infill. So we can build 151 homes on infill lots without having to touch any of the cornfields around town.
Okay.
Now, most of those are less than an acre or less. So you're looking at like currently residential inner city lots. We'd like to focus on those. There are also large tracts of land inside the city limits that are currently in cornfields and things like that, where we will look at those for development, but that's a different type of development than, building a one house for a person in an infill lot.
Right. So Sam, you mentioned in the article that you're trying to move the needle to address this shortage. What kind of roadblocks are you running into when it comes to bringing more development to Knox County?
When you talk about roadblocks, there really isn't one solution that's going to fix these. So really what we try to do is identify what are the things standing in the way. For us, it boils down to 5 things.
Okay.
First one is affordability. So we can build houses, that's fine, but with the cost of lumber and other building costs, how can we make sure that the houses that are being built are still affordable for folks that want to live in Knox County and work in Knox County? So we don't want to go out and just start building a whole bunch of McMansions, for example, and that's not going to be what we want. So we want to look at affordability. Speed, the reality is we can't build fast enough, so how can we make sure that we aren't creating hurdles to slow down the process? So one of those things is looking at red tape. So, that process of getting permits and getting, different commissions and boards, every community is different, so it can be a little confusing for a developer.
Sure.
So anything that's confusing is a thing that creates time, and that slows down the process.
Right.
Next is competition. So we have competition, obviously, with other counties around us.
Right.
Why would a builder want to come here and build versus going to Licking County, for example? So we need to work on making sure that this is a competitive area.
Yes.
And part of that is how can we show that if they build it, they'll be able to sell it?
Right.
The most recent development that we've had in Mount Vernon was before 2007.
Okay.
So that data is super old. So we need something a little bit more recent to show some proof of concept.
Right.
The other issue is that we need a variety of all housing. We don't just need single families. There's a big ripple effect that happens when, let's say, we build a senior housing development. Well, the majority of the people that are going to move there already live in Knox County. So if they move there, that means that their home opens up.
Right.
which opens up a new opportunity for somebody down the road.
Right.
Same thing with multifamily apartments and things like that. We have a lot of folks that are what I would classify as overhoused. They would like to be in an apartment with low maintenance and things like that, but the only thing available to them was to rent a single family home, which comes with lawn work and having to do the trash service and maintenance and those types of things. They would prefer apartments, but there just aren't that many. So we need more apartments as well. And then the last thing that we really need to conquer, I guess, is the age and quality of our existing home stock. So the average home was built in 1973, which means that there's a lot of good quality home stock that's just a little outdated or it needs a little sprucing up. So how can we make sure that those become good options too, so that people aren't just waiting for a new house to move to Knox County, they can see the value in an existing home. So if we can conquer those roadblocks, I think we can start to address the housing shortage.
Sure. Yeah, that's great, Sam. So Jeff, could you speak more about what ADF is doing to help our community navigate around these roadblocks?
Before we identify solutions, it's really important to identify what it is that we want. What is our goal? So really what we're shooting for is we need to increase the supply of housing of really all types. So we need multifamily, we need senior housing, we need smaller condos, and we need single family. We want to maintain affordability or even increase it as well. Like Sam was saying, we don't need subdivisions of McMansions that are $500,000 homes. We need to make sure that it's something that's attainable for the community. And the last thing we want to do is to try to maintain our rural character. We're very proudly rural. People choose to come here because of the ruralness, I guess. And so that's one of our big advantages, and we want to maintain that. So with those things in mind, and we think about affordability, that's where infill comes in. Sam mentioned that already. It's cheaper to build on a lot in the city already. The infrastructure is already there, and they tend to be smaller than new subdivision houses. So that reduces the cost to builders. Improving the current housing stock is important. The cheapest house is one that's already built. And so with some lipstick and a few cosmetic improvements, that what would be an undesirable home is now something that's desirable and is now sort of back on the market, so to speak. And then in terms of solutions, there are property tax relief mechanisms that we can use. So essentially what that would do is lower a homeowner's property tax burden a certain percentage for a certain period of years. So the impact is that that particular property owner has a little more money in their pocket, so they can afford a little more house. And so you want to structure those programs, again, to incentivize what we want to see here. We're not just going to fling open the door and say everybody gets 100% property tax for 20 years because we don't know what the builders are going to come and build. So we want to incentivize what we want to see. We want to see housing types of all types, and we want to see affordability on infill lots. With regard to speed, we kind of see ourselves sometimes as like the business concierge or the home builder concierge. So if you're thinking about building a home or a development or something, call us first. And so we work with the local governments to do kind of a project management plan. And so we know what their expectations are. We know what the permitting process is. We know what the timetables are. And so we can kind of help those builders through each step. So there's really no surprises because that's what slows things down is surprises. So again, we're trying to make things as predictable and easy as possible so people can get their houses built faster. When it comes to competition, Sam's absolutely right. We're competing against other counties and other cities around the region and the state for that matter. So we need to show that it's worth it to build a home in Knox County. And because it's been so long since the last subdivision was built, we're working on a market study that shows not only the lack of supply of homes, which I'm sure you can attest to,
Right.
But also what the business growth is like, what the investment in downtowns are like, what the average wages are like,
Sure.
so that the more information we can provide to those home builders, the safer they feel building homes here. Because to
Right.
them, it's really about risk,
Right.
and they want to know that they can sell those homes that they build.
Right.
If we think about variety, I mentioned we need all types of homes, right? So that's where those tax programs can come into play.
Right.
And maybe having relationships with different types of home builders. Not every developer builds the same product. Some
Sure.
of them are multifamily, some mixed use, some single family.
Sure.
So the more relationships we have with them, we can communicate with those builders when certain properties that would suit their product become available.
Right.
And then lastly, when it comes to aging housing stock, how can we fix those houses up so they look a little nicer? Again, property tax mechanisms, but then the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, which is a 17-county transportation and housing planning organization, they created their own housing study. That's all based on type of homes.
Okay.
And so it has, like, for example, mid-century ranch, like Sam was mentioning, and then underneath that is a checklist of things that the community can do to maintain affordability and supply
Sure.
of those types of homes. So for us, it's a matter of convening all of the stakeholders within the community who have some sort of impact on those housing types, and looking at that list and just sort of going through and assessing ourselves. What are we doing? Well, not so good, not at all.
Right.
And just sort of going through and checking those boxes to improve the local housing stock. The land bank is doing a great job of this as well by taking really the worst house on the street, sometimes literally, and turning it into the nicest house on the street.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, well, yeah, you guys have laid some really impressive groundwork that I really believe is going to move our community forward. So I'm super grateful for all of the time that you guys have invested in this. I do have one final question. Jeff, how can members of the community get on board with what you're doing?
Sure, good question. So within ADF, two of our most important tools are knowledge and connections. So the more we know about what's going on in the community, in the business world, in the real estate world, and the more people we know, the easier we can make connections between people, the easier we can open up our toolkit to see what those obstacles are, and if anything in our arsenal can help to meet those needs. We've got the full array of state and local and Jobs Ohio programs at our disposal for business development. There's some real estate things in there as well. So the more we know about what people are thinking and what they want to do, what their opportunities are, let us know. Even if that's as simple as, hey, the lot beside my house I bought a long time ago, and this sounds like a good opportunity to put a house there.
Sure.
Call your favorite local realtor, right?
Sure.
And list that house for sale so we can put a house on it.
Right.
We have a website, knoxadf.com, that outlines a lot of our programs and projects. We've got a Facebook page, Area Development Foundation. Visit our website, share our Facebook posts. Just be interested in what we do, I think.
Sure.
And we wouldn't be a nonprofit if we didn't ask for money everywhere we go. So ADF is a nonprofit. It's a member-based entity. really, if we do our job well, everyone benefits, right? If we bring businesses to town, you're going to sell more houses, there's going to be more insurance, businesses will have more employees, people will have more money in their pocket. I could just keep going. Really, the rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to raise the tide. And then lastly, I think just being local and thinking local and acting local is really important to help to grow the opportunities to make the county a place that everyone wants to be. So that involves, shopping local, working local, living locally, and then giving locally, volunteering, charity, things like that. So the more local we are and we act, I think the better our county's going to be.
Right. Well, Jeff and Sam, thank you so much for coming and talking with us today. This conversation has been super enlightening. We really appreciate everything you're doing for Mount Vernon, Knox County, and our communities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even as a realtor and a resident of Knox County, and I think I can speak on both of our behalves with this, it means a lot to be in a community that's really investing in its future. So yeah, we appreciate your work and all the time you've invested on this project. And I hope that you guys have found this information valuable. Like Jeff said, feel free to reach out to the ADF. Please consider partnering with them, like their Facebook page, be interested in what's going on in your community. And if you want more valuable real estate content just like this, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we are always happy to discuss any of your real estate goals with you. So feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at johnyoderteam.com. Thanks guys, and we'll see you next time.